Hi everybody, it's Mr. Stewart here with the assignment video for the animation course, Level 1, Week 4. Now this is the first part of the waving assignment, to make a character wave 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to challenge you to create a much bigger, more creative situation. Have fun with it, go crazy as long as it has a character waving 4 times. Now this assignment video is specifically for Maya, and if you're going to be using Maya, then you'll be using our little snowman rig, which should be in the email I sent out to you after class. And I'm going to start off the video by explaining how to use the controls on the snowman. So let's get started. Alright, so here is our snowman for the assignment, for the Week 4 assignment for the wave. And so I'm going to just quickly go through the controls, kind of how these controls work, what you should use them for. Now, first off, I'm going to start off with what is displayed and what you see here. In any, if you remember, in any show or in any window, you're going to see a show menu. And so inside of that, I can choose what to display. Now, usually everything is going to be displayed, and you're going to see that something that looks kind of like this, with lots of different lines and joints and all sorts of different things. We really don't need to see all of those things, and the more that we show, the more strain that is on the graphics processor. So I'm going to turn everything off, and by hitting none. Now, most of the time you don't need to pull this off. If you want to, you can by going to the top, it's out of screen here, and clicking it. But I can also turn different things on just by going to them in this show menu. The first thing I'm going to turn on is polygons. Polygons is going to show me pretty much everything. And this is how I will make my video, how I will play blast. I'll just show polygons. But in order to work, I'm going to need to see NURBS curves. And these are really the only two things that I need turned on. And so that's all I'm going to display for when I work. And this is going to make it easier to work because there won't be other things that are part of Maya, but really not part of my workflow, that will kind of get in the way. For example, if you have joints turned on, then when I want to select something, well, I might select the joint instead of the control, or I might, it gives me an opportunity to select something that I don't really need. So I'm going to turn those off again. So now let's walk through the different controls, and I'm going to start from the bottom and go up. I'm also going to kind of show you this in the outliner. So if you go to Windows Outliner, the outliner is a very useful window. What this shows is everything that's in my file, that's in my shot. So right now you can see the perspective, the top, the front, the side cameras. I'm going to undo that. And then these object sets, light sets, stuff that's going to be in every single Maya file. And then this is our snowman. And when you see these little plus signs, you can see that there is what we call a hierarchy. Different things live underneath, are parented underneath different other nodes. So that's kind of how this works. I'm going to grab the Snowmaster, the snow body. You can see that these live underneath. And anything that I grab that's on top is going to move everything along with it. But if I grab the body here, you can see that it does not move the master along because it's living underneath it. But at this point, it would. So it's a series of layers, if you will, that will sort of build upon themselves. So if I grab this outside circle here, this is my master control. Now my master control is is something that will move everything, as I've said. And it's really meant to place my character where I want. So if I create an environment here, and I want to just make a few objects for my snowman to interact with. So now I want to place my snowman in the middle of this scenario here. I can click on the master node, move him to where I want, but then I can even rotate it. I can scale it, and then once I've got him the size and the placement that I want, I'm going to leave that master node alone. I'm going to leave that there, and whenever I move him, I'm just going to move the body node. The reason being is because at any point now, once I've moved him around, if I want to put him right back to where he started, I can zero out those values, and he'll go right back to that spot. All right. Now I'm going to move, so I've sort of explained the body and the master node. I'm going to move up here to the spine. Now you'll see that this becomes a little bit difficult when I've created the geometry, the environment like this. One way I can do this is I can select just this geometry, and then I'm going to create a new layer. This down here underneath the channel box is my layer editor. If I create this button here, it will create a new layer. If I create this, it will create a new layer out of all of my selections. So if I have all of the environments selected and I hit this button, it will create layer 1. Now this is my visibility, so I can turn it off and on. But I can also do this. I can click this and make it templated, and I can click this and make it referenced. Now when it's referenced, now I cannot select it. But I still can select all of these other things. So that's kind of a nice way to, and I can double click on it, give it a name, and I can even give it a color, save it there. And this allows me to control that environment a little bit easier. Okay. So I'm going to select on the spine here, and this is kind of getting in the way, so I'm just going to turn that off. And the spine is going to allow me to translate, to rotate the spine of the snowman, but there are no limits. So as I try to move this around, I can really break the snowman rather easily. I want to make sure that I put limits on myself. I'm responsible as the animator to, if I can get this to move, I am responsible as the animator to keep the snowman looking like a snowman. Now there's another control down here that's squash and stretch, and this is where that middle mouse button comes into play again. So I'm going to click on that, highlight squash and stretch, and then use my middle mouse button in my window and hold it down and move back and forth. And as I do, you can see that I can make him his entire body squash or his entire body stretch. Now the face is kind of sinking into the head. I'll go through those controls in a little bit, but we'll have to move those out and in as needed. So then I'm going to go up here to the head, the top here. This will move his head around. And as I said, that face is a bit buried like that. So then the face controls, I can click on the circle outside and I can move the entire face. And I can move it completely off his body. It will still move along with the head wherever it is. But I can also click on the individual pieces and I can move those around and change the expression. But you can see here very quickly, it looks kind of okay from this angle. But if I spin around, you can see that it's moved off of the skin. So again, up to me as the animator to make sure that these all kind of stay where they're on the skin. And move those around like that. So then I get into the arm controls. These are very simple. There's no elbow, and there's really only two options here. I can rotate this by moving it around. I can also make it longer or shorter by scaling it. But I can only scale in one direction. So I can make it longer or I can make it shorter. The circle around the three fingers will move the entire hand, and the controls around the individual fingers will move the individual fingers. Again, I can make these, I can rotate these, or I can make these longer or shorter, like this. And then I have some controls here for the scarf. These are open. I can do a lot more, but again, very easily they will go inside of the body of the snowman. Now, at any time when I want to move the snowman back to the position I had started, just like with the body, I can do this with a lot of the different controls. I can click and drag over the entire control set, and then go up in here in the channel box, and I'm going to put in translate and rotate 0, and in scale 1, and I will go completely back to the default position. Now these controls are what I'm going to set my keys on. So with the exception of the face, when you did the bouncing ball assignment, you just selected the geometry. But instead of selecting the geometry here, you're going to select these controls, and that is what you're going to hit S and then set a key on. Now you can see that I'm moving this, but it's not red. I have to hit S first for auto key to work. So usually what I'll try to do is I'll select all of the controls on the first frame and hit S. Then I have a key set on everything. Then auto key begins to work a lot easier and a lot more effectively. But you can see here the animation begins moving around, and that is what you will move around and key for your animations. Okay, so now I'm pretty much set and ready to go. All right, so I'm going to make a bit of a request here. Just a note to talk to you about creativity. So many times in the wave assignment, I will see something similar to this. And I'm going to very quickly show you this assignment here. Now, all right, so the assignment is to wave 4 times. And this fills the requirements of the assignment, but it's really boring. And believe it or not, I see this almost exact assignment a number of times. You're not really learning a ton by just making that arm go up and down 4 times. And really, you want to push your creativity. This is a great assignment to push your creative ideas. Now, sometimes that can be very intimidating, very frustrating, because you don't know if your ideas are good enough. I struggled with that a lot. You know what? Every idea has merit, and every idea can be fun. If you are working hard, then that's great. And that's kind of the creativity part of animation. This that really, it makes animating fun and makes everybody's unique perspective come through. So instead of doing just an up and down wave with 4 or 5 keys on one control, I'm going to challenge you all to really come up with something creative. You can fit that wave in any number of different ways. You can also bring in multiple snowmen. So if you want to do that, all you have to do is bring in import, go to File, Import, and then go to where you've saved your Snowman file. And you can go over here and use namespaces, this little checkbox here. It's going to give you an option. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Using the selected namespace as parent, I usually pick this middle one here and give it a separate name. I'm going to say Snow 2. And then when I hit import, if I go back to the outliner, you'll see now I have Snow 2, Snow All, and Snow 1. Now these are completely now unique, and you can animate both of them. But they look kind of the same, so we can make a couple of adjustments. You can take that master node and scale it. Okay, I'm going to import in another one here. Scroll down to use namespaces and now make this Snow 3. Pick my snowman here. Scale it down a bit. But again, the colors are very similar. So what I can do to change the colors is I can go to the Hypershade. Now the Hypershade is a bit overwhelming. I'm going to show you some basic things to do. There's going to be a lot of other controls, but don't worry about those. So we go to Windows, Rendering Editors, and Hypershade. Now it's going to bring this up. Now this is the Hypershade, and it has a number of different windows inside of one window. What we're looking for over here are the materials. You can see that all of these materials are very similar to the colors that we see in the snowman. And so the first set here is going to be associated with the first snowman. The second set is with the second snowman, and the third set with the third snowman. So if I want to change the scarf color, all I have to do is double click on Snow 2 here and see if I can get all of this in frame so we can see it. And here we go. I'm going to double click on the color right here, and whatever color that I pick will be the new scarf color. I can also change the nose color if I want. Make that a little bit darker. And then I'm going to go over here and change the color of the third scarf. So now I have 3 pretty unique looking snow people. You can also spend some time creating a little bit of an environment. If I ever want to move these things around again, I just need to unclick that R, then I can click on them and move these different objects around. So spend a little time being creative and working with the characters to create kind of an environment, a situation where they might be waving back and forth, and you can have these two characters be rather uninterested. They can be sad or scared when this character comes in to frame. You can do any number of things, and that's really where I want to challenge you. Come up with something really fun and creative and interesting that is going to really challenge you as an animator and an artist. Now, you can, while the snowmen don't have legs, you can make them move in all sorts of different ways. You can think about them like a bouncing ball, like them jumping up and down, bouncing. I've seen many students have them move in a sort of a sliding way, where they are sliding into place. Whoops. Now, if you ever see these blue lines again, right-click over the line, and it should take you to this option and pick object mode. So you can see here I can have the snowmen kind of come into place, sliding along. That's a great option. There's lots of different ways to move them around that are pretty simple. Work on changing the expressions. If you only leave the snowman's smile on there, it's gonna feel kind of stale and uninteresting. So explore changing around the expressions. You can also make the characters blink, which is always fun. If you just grab those two eyeballs, you can set a key about 2 frames later. If you scale them down in Y, and then 2 frames later, set that back to 1, you can have them blink like this. Getting and playing with their expressions is going to be a great way to really set the stage for their personalities, and another great way to be really creative. Remember, you have to set a key on them first before they can then go into a smile. But it's real simple to get back into the smile. All you have to do is zero out the translate channels, and they will go back into a smile. So really play around with a lot of the controls, not just the wave. You can see I haven't even started the wave yet, but I could go in here, I could have the arms come down. Now, because I set keys on there, they're kind of going up and down in that wave. If I want to get rid of those keys, an easy way to do that, go to Panels, Panel, and I can actually make this panel into the graph editor. Then when I go back and forth here, I can go back in the graph editor and quickly take a look and make adjustments. So then I can have my character raise the arms up. And I'm going to move this key over a few frames so that they don't rise up exactly at the same time. One comes before the other. And then that's where I'm going to bring in the wave. It doesn't have to be just waving to another character. It could be that he's really excited. And I can keep just adding in more frames. And then I'm going to do the same thing here, but maybe in a little bit different way. Oops. Again, if you see blue, right-click and pick Object Mode. So you can see this is a much more interesting animation, and I could put in all sorts of fun animation on the little snowman over here. That's going to be way more interesting to see than just one control going up and down 4 times. So once I'm done, now I've been pressing the play button and it's been working okay, but it may look a little bit different in my play blast. So I'm always going to want to make sure that I check my video. Right now it's not save to file isn't checked. So if I hit play blast, it's just going to create a temporary video for me to look at. And I'm doing it in a pretty small mode here. In fact, let me reset those options. So I'm not going to do image, I'm going to do AVI, and I'm going to do scale 100%. Now hit play blast again. So you can see it moves just a little bit faster here. Usually has just a little bit different look. But double check that before you're ready. And then when you've completed your animation, make sure you go to File, Save Scene As. Now, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. I'm just going to do this on my desktop here. If I say Snowman, and right now I have things set in Maya binary. So I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to get this file contains unknown nodes or data to preserve this information. The current file type cannot be changed. When I hit OK, I'm going to see this error down here that says the same thing. What happens is it did not save my file. What I need to do is go to Save Scene As and change my file type back to Maya ASCII, which is going to say .ma. Now the reason being is because the original Maya Snowman file is a .ma file, and Maya can save in 2 different ways, but sometimes it doesn't like to switch back and forth. So now if I say Snowman Wave and hit enter, it saves just fine. So that's how you fix that. If you see that error, just make sure you switch the file type. And once I have completely and safely saved my animation Maya file on my computer, then I'm going to play blast, and now I am going to save to a file. I'm going to pick a format, and I'm going to do from window here. If I wanted to make it custom, I could make it bigger, but from the window should be fine. But before I play blast, I want to make sure I turn off my NURBS curves and just leave the geometry present. So now, play blast, options, save to file, and I'm going to, if I scroll down, I can browse to a location, I'll just put that on my desktop as well. And hit Play Blast. This will create the video, and this video is what I'm going to turn in. All right, so hopefully that was helpful. Good luck to all of you. Can't wait to see the animations, and have a great week.